12. Cape buffalo. Cape bison, which number around 900,000, are a moderately mellow animal group when taken off alone, liking to make a trip in huge crowds to touch in early morning and late evening hours, or to assemble around watering openings to remain hydrated. In any case, if an individual, or its calf, is compromised or injured, they become the manifestation of their moniker, Black Death. Allegedly answerable for killing a bigger number of trackers on the landmass than some other animal, these behemoths, which can grow up to almost 6 feet tall and gauge near a ton, circle and tail their prey prior to ear-jigging at velocities of to 35 miles for every hour. They are even known to keep charging regardless of where they are harmed and won't spare a moment to assault moving vehicles. Get the job done to say, you would prefer not to play with those horns. Where to discover them? Sub-Saharan Africa, remembering Kruger National Park for South Africa. Next. 11. Cone snail. Found in the warm waters in the jungles, these wonderful animals, right away unmistakable for their profoundly valued earthy colored and white marbled shells, can be found in shallow profundities closer to shore, close to coral reefs and rock arrangements, and underneath sandy sandbars. Yet, don't set out to contact the 4 to 6 inch long gastropods. Their covered, spear-like teeth contain an intricate toxin known as acoutoxy, making them quite possibly the most venomous types of snails. Just a modest bunch of individuals ever stung, however, sadly, there is no counter-agent. The poison prevents nerve cells from speaking with each other, so the animal causes loss of motion inside minutes. In any case, per its epithet of cigarette snail, manages the cost of you about sufficient opportunity to smoke a stick before you bite the dust. Where to discover them? The Caribbean, Hawaii, and Indonesia. Next. 10. Brilliant poison dart frog. The toxin dart is an enormous, various gathering of brilliantly shaded frogs, of which just a modest bunch of animal types are especially perilous to people. The most destructive, the brilliant toxin dart, possesses the little scope of tropical jungles along Colombia's Pacific coast, and develops to around 2 inches in length, generally the size of a paper cut. Its toxin, called batrachotoxy, is strong to such an extent that there's sufficient in one frog to murder 10 developed men, with just 2 micrograms, generally the sum that would fit onto the top of a pin, expected to slaughter a solitary person. In any case, what makes the land and water proficient particularly perilous is that its toxin organs are situated underneath its skin, which means a simple touch will raise a ruckus. Little marvel the native embers individuals have bound the tips of their blow darts utilized for chasing with the frog's poison for quite a long time. Tragically, deforestation has handled the frog on a few imperiled records, yet regardless of whether you do have an uncommon location when climbing, don't go after it. Where to discover them? Northern South America. Next. 9. Box jellyfish. Regularly discovered skimming, or gradually moving at speeds near 5 miles for every hour, in Indo-Pacific waters, these straightforward, almost undetectable spineless creatures are considered by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration as the most venomous marine creature on the planet. Their namesake cubic casings contain up to 15 arms at the corners, with each developing as much as 10 feet in length, all fixed with a huge number of stinging cells, known as hematocysts, that contain poisons that at the same time assault the heart, sensory system, and skin cells. While immunizing agents do exist, the toxin is so intense and overpowering that numerous human casualties, of the many detailed deadly experiences every year, have been known to go into stun and suffocate or pass on of cardiovascular breakdown prior to arriving at shore. Regardless of whether you are sufficiently fortunate to make it to the clinic and get the cure, Survivors can once in a while experience significant torment for quite a long time subsequently, and bear awful scars from the animal's appendages. Where to discover them? Off the northern shore of Australia. Next. 08 Indian saw-scaled viper. While a lot of snake animal varieties pack enough toxin to effortlessly cut down a human, not every one of them adopt the multifaceted strategy of the Indian saw-scaled snake, which is the reason they are one of the top supporters of snakebite cases. Now and again called the little Indian snake or essentially the saw-scaled snake, these reptiles live in probably the most populated locales of the reach they possess, which stretches well past India. They stay unnoticeable by utilizing their regular disguise to mix into desert encompasses. Since they are normally dynamic around evening time, it's ideal to tune in for their protective sizzling sound. This comes from a conduct called stridulation, in which the snake structures curls and rubs its scales together. Indeed, even with a notice, saw-scaled snakes are incredibly forceful, with more than twofold a deadly portion into each nibble. Fortunately, there is a powerful antidote. Where to discover them? Parts of the Middle East, Central Asia, and the Indian subcontinent. Next. 7 Pufferfish. Pufferfish, otherwise called blowfish, are situated in tropical oceans around the world. In spite of the fact that they are the second most toxic vertebrate on Earth, after the brilliant bold dart frog, they are ostensibly more perilous as their urotoxy, called tetrodotoxy, is found in the fish's skin, muscle tissue, liver, kidneys, and balls, which must all be kept away from while setting up the animal for human utilizatio. To be sure, while wild experiences are absolutely risky, the danger of death from a pufferfish increments when eating it in nations like Japan, where it is viewed as a delicacy known as fugu and must be set up via prepared, authorized cooks, and still, after all that, inadvertent passings from ingestion happen a few times every year. The tetrodotoxy is up to multiple times more harmful than that of cyanide, and can cause stifling of the tongue and lips, discombobulation, heaving, arrhythmia, trouble breathing, muscle loss of motion, and, whenever left untreated, demise. Where to discover them? Around Japan, China, and the Philippines. Next. 6 Dark Mamba. In spite of the fact that species like the boomslag or the Lord Cobra are risky thanks to their particular toxins, the dark mamba is particularly lethal because of its speed. The species, which can grow up to 14 feet in length, is the quickest, all things considered, crawling at rates of up to 12.5 miles every hour, which makes getting away from one in distant zones considerably more troublesome. Fortunately, dark mambas normally possibly strike when compromised, yet when they do, they'll nibble over and again, conveying enough toxin, a mix of neuro and cardiotoxis, in a solitary chomp to murder 10 individuals. Furthermore, in the event that one doesn't get the correlative neutralizer inside 20 minutes, the chomps are right around 100% deadly. Where to discover them? The savannas and rough regions of southern and eastern Africa. Next. 5 Sydney funnel web spider. A few creepy crawlies display their lethality with conspicuous tones or outsider-like extremities, however few are as fit for finishing on that guarantee as the lustrous dark Sydney funnel web spider. A channel web's chomp is a genuine aim for caution. Fatality among grown-ups can happen inside 30 minutes, since the atrocatoxy in their toxin makes the human sensory system short out. Curiously, their toxin isn't especially annoying to non-primate well-evolved creatures, including family unit pets. What makes channel networks particularly hazardous is their vicinity to people, and the regular conduct that drives them to look for haven and fabricate networks in shielded tunnels, like shoes and grass trimmings. Forceful in the first place, and inclined to meandering, pipe network's teeth can puncture a human fingernail or even a shoe, which they will do consistently when undermined. The chomp of a pipe web is fearsome to such an extent that specialists suggest looking for antibody in the wake of tangoing with any dark arachnid in the channel web family, to be safe. Where to discover them? The eastern and southern shores of Territory Australia. Next. 4 stonefish. The most venomous fish known to people is a simple one to miss, which is actually what it needs. Stonefish, all things considered, are named for their visual closeness to rocks, sitting completely still and mixing directly into the seabed where a clueless foot can undoubtedly venture down on their dorsal blades, ready for action with intense urotasis. The unluckiest hicks will step hard, applying more weight and expanding the measure of toxin that gets infused. They may likewise trigger the stonefish's optional protection instrument known as a lacrimal saber, which has been compared to a switchblade of the face. Casualty from stonefish toxin can happen inside 60 minutes, so it's prescribed to look for antibody quickly, applying water warmed to more than 113 degrees Fahrenheit, 45 degrees Celsius, meanwhile to denature the toxin. In particular, watch where you step. Where to discover them? Coastal Indo-Pacific Ocean, the Red Sea, and the Great Barrier Reef. Next. 3. Saltwater crocodile. Florida's gators might be frightening, yet they don't have anything on their cousin, the fearsome crocodile, which is all the more touchy, effortless in sighted, and forceful toward anything that crosses its way. Of the multitude of species on the planet, the biggest, and generally perilous, is the saltwater crocodile. These brutal executioners can grow up to 23 feet long, gauge in excess of a ton, and are known to murder hundreds every year, with crocodiles in general answerable for more human fatalities every year than sharks. Saltwater crocodiles are particularly risky as they are phenomenal swimmers in both salt and fresh water. Indeed, their name is befuddling, and can hit rapidly with a chomp conveying 3,700 pounds for every square inch, of weight, equaling that of the T-Rex. On the off chance that is adequately not to frighten you, put it in context. Humans eat into a very much done steak at around 200 C, a simple 5% of the strength of a salty's jaw. Where to discover them? The Indo-Pacific area going from parts of India and Vietnam, right to northern Australia. Next. 2. Tsetse fly. Regularly viewed as the world's most perilous fly, the tsetse fly, a little bit of bug that measures between 8 to 17 millimeters, or about a similar size as the normal house fly, is usually found in sub-Saharan Africa, particularly all through nations in the focal point of the mainland. While the flies themselves are awful blood-sucking bugs that normally feed during the pinnacle warm hours, their actual fear lies in the protozoan parasites they spread known as trypanosomes. These minute microorganisms are the causative specialist of African sleeping sickness, an infection set apart by neurological and meningoencephalitis manifestations including social changes, helpless coordination, just as the unsettling influences in dosing cycles that give the disease its name. On the off chance that untreated, the condition can be lethal. While there are no antibodies or meds accessible to forestall disease, strategies for insurance incorporate wearing impartial hued apparel. The tsetse fly is pulled into brilliant and dim tones, particularly blue, abstaining from hedges during the day, and utilizing permethrin-treated stuff in more far-off regions. Where to discover them? The Sudans, the Democratic